Hey there, fellow hearts who've known pain. Have you ever felt that sickening moment when the person you trusted most shatters everything you believed in? That instant when your whole world collapses and you can barely breathe? I lived through that nightmare standing in a hospital room, watching my wife cradle a newborn that my heart already knew wasn't mine. This is the story of my betrayal, my breaking point, and how I found myself again when everything was lost. I still remember how it felt before doubt crept in. Kristen's smile used to be my anchor, her touch my safe harbor. We had plans, a family, a future, a forever. But that was before I noticed the late-night texts, the unexplained absences, the way she flinched when I touched her phone. For months, I buried my suspicions, telling myself I was just being paranoid. But deep down, in that place where truth lives despite our desperate denials, I knew. When Kristen went into labor, I drove her to the hospital, my hands steady on the wheel, while my mind raced with questions I wasn't ready to face. Our mothers arrived shortly after, my mom Linda and Kristen's mom Dolores, both beaming with the excitement of first-time grandmothers. They didn't know yet, nobody did. Except me. I stood apart from them, watching Kristen cradle that tiny bundle wrapped in pink, unable to move closer, unable to reach out. The weight of my certainty kept me rooted to the floor. "Mr. Davis, I need you to fill out the birth certificate form," the nurse said, extending a clipboard toward me. My voice came out calmer than I felt when I replied, "We can fill it out after the DNA test proves if I'm the father." The room froze. Kristen's head snapped up so quickly, the baby stirred against her chest. Her eyes widened with that look, not of innocence, but of someone caught in a lie they thought was safe. "How dare you, Martin?" she hissed, her voice rising. "Are you accusing me of cheating?" I met her furious stare, unflinching. "No," I said, my voice deliberately even, each word dropping like ice. "I am sure that you cheated. And now, I'm making sure if this child is actually mine or not." God, the silence that followed felt like drowning. The machines beeped, measuring heartbeats that couldn't possibly reflect the storm raging inside me. Both mothers jumped to her defense, of course. Dolores, with her careful diplomacy, "This isn't the right time." And my own mother, with her fierce disappointment. "I did not raise you to be this cruel, Martin." But cruelty wasn't what drove me. It was survival. "Kristen," I said, my eyes never leaving hers. "Should I call your lover Marshall Jones?" Her entire body jerked as if I'd struck her. The color drained from her face as I pulled out the folded paper from my pocket, unfolding it with deliberate slowness. "Then why," I said, "did you message him about this?" I read aloud the words that had burned themselves into my brain. "My husband should never know about you and me. I don't want anything to do with you." Have you ever watched someone's world collapse, watched as their lies crumbled around them? Her tears didn't move me. Her trembling body didn't soften my resolve, because when she whispered, "He said no one would ever know," it was the confession I had been waiting for. "So, you did sleep with him," I said coldly. "You got pregnant with his baby." My mother tried again, desperately. "Martin, stop. It's not even proven that the child isn't yours." I exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of months of silent suffering. "I knew about her cheating for the last 4 months," I stated plainly. "I waited for the baby to be born just for the DNA test," Kristen gasped, her tear-filled eyes widening. "You knew?" she whispered. I turned toward my mother and Dolores. I wanted her to have a good, smooth pregnancy. I didn't want her to go through stress or depression. But now that the baby is here, it's time for the truth. The words came easily now. "If the baby is mine, I will be his father. If not, then I will not take part in his life." I pointed toward Kristen, who was sobbing silently. "As for this woman, I am done. She will no longer be my wife." If you've ever had to stand your ground while everyone around you tries to make you doubt yourself, you know how hard that moment is. When my mother suggested reconciliation, marriage counseling, I couldn't hold back my anger anymore. "And do what?" I asked, my voice sharpening. "Find out why my wife cheated? Sit in a room and listen to someone explain how I was incapable of satisfying my wife's needs? Listen to someone explain to me that my wife, who got a baby from another man, was right and justified in her actions?" The room fell silent. My mother's face paled. She didn't argue further. She knew I was right. I told Dolores to take Kristen with her after discharge. I had already packed her clothes and belongings. "She is not entering my house," I said with finality. Have you ever walked away from someone you once loved, knowing you'd never look back? It tears something inside you, not from grief, but from the violent removal of what you thought was true. That evening, my mother called. She was at Dolores's place, helping them both. I have treated her like a daughter ever since she was born, she said. I would pray to God that the child is yours. I would pray that you two could find a way to save this marriage. I cut her off immediately. Mom, the marriage is over. Even if the child is mine, I am done with her. Now stop pushing for that. Martin, if you want to keep pushing for it, then consider your son dead. Do I make myself clear? Sometimes, those we love need firm boundaries to understand our pain. If you've been betrayed, you know that well. I hope you're nodding right now, because sometimes we need to know we're not alone in our hardest decisions. 2 days later, I made sure my actions spoke louder than words. My lawyer served Kristen with divorce papers. I canceled her credit cards, drained our joint account, leaving her share, and froze the investments until the divorce was settled. My mother called again, her voice filled with disappointment. You should not have done that. She is still not fully recovered, and you have put her through this. I am ashamed of you, Martin. I could never have imagined you being so heartless. Heartless, I repeated, my voice low with restrained fury. Where was her heart when she was opening her legs for that man? Was she thinking with her heart then? Silence. She had no answer. Was she thinking about her marriage? Was she thinking about her husband when she decided to betray me? When the DNA results arrived 3 days later, my hands trembled slightly as I opened the envelope. Not the father, the words confirmed what I already knew, but still, they cut deep. Any lingering doubts vanished in an instant. I drove to Dolores's house, the envelope heavy in my pocket. When Kristen opened the door, her face lit up with hope, with that self-assured confidence I once found endearing. You've come to me, she said softly. I knew you loved me enough to reconsider. I was just telling Mom that you would come back to me. I know you can't live without me. Her arms reached out for an embrace I would never give. I held out a hand, stopping her. Stop this drama. Where is your mother? I'm here to meet her. Inside, both mothers were waiting. My mother cradled the baby in her arms, her face full of desperate hope. Look, she said, smiling. The baby has your eyes. He looks just like you. She took another step forward, holding out the child. Come on, hold him once, and I can assure you, you'll forget everything. You'll be a happy family again. I stepped back. Mom, stop it, I said firmly. Then, without another word, I pulled out the envelope and handed it to Dolores. Please read it aloud so everyone can hear it. Her trembling voice read. Sample A. Chances of paternity 0%. You are not his father. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother sank into a chair, whispering, Oh no. I came here just to tell you both to stop pushing me for this child. I said coldly. As I said earlier, since this baby is not mine, I will not be a part of his life. I turned to leave, but my mother's voice stopped me. Martin. Stop. She rose from her chair and handed the baby back to Kristen. Drop me home. She turned to Dolores, her voice filled with regret. I'm sorry. I was hoping against all hope that this child was my grandson. But she shattered all my hopes. The two older women embraced. Semper Fi, Dolores whispered. My mother responded, Always faithful, sister. In the car, my mother was silent. At her home, she made me coffee with chocolate, just the way I liked it. Then she said words I hadn't expected. I'm sorry, son. I made a mistake. I was being selfish. I never wanted to see you and Kristen separate, but I was wrong. Forgive me. I took a deep breath. I know that you and Dolores are childhood friends. I knew why you were supporting Kristen, but it was too much for me, Mom. I had no one beside me. No one supported me. And then, without warning, I broke down. The tears I had been holding back for months finally spilled over. My shoulders shook with sobs I couldn't control. She brushed my hair back the way she used to when I was a kid. You did good, she whispered. You were strong. You stood by what you believed in. I am proud of you, son. Her words were healing, but something else caught my attention. Semper Fi, I said. You said that when you hugged Dolores. What was that about? She smiled slightly. Oh, that was nothing. We were in the Marines. We both served in the first Gulf War. We were among the 40,000 women in that war. Then we came back and retired. Then I had you. Life has strange ways of revealing new sides to people we thought we knew completely. If you've ever discovered something unexpected about someone close to you, you know that feeling of seeing them in a completely new light. The divorce dragged on longer than expected. Kristen fought it, claiming I was neglecting her, that I was shirking my responsibilities. But my lawyer systematically dismantled her arguments, forcing her to admit the truth. "Mrs. Campbell," he asked, "your infidelity, was it your husband's fault? Yes or no?" In a small voice, she finally muttered, "No." When pushed about why she wanted reconciliation if I was such a terrible husband, Kristen's facade cracked completely. "He is the best husband ever," she screamed through tears. "I love him, and I want him in my life. My child cannot have a better father than that man." "Then why?" my lawyer demanded. "Why, Mrs. Campbell? Did you cheat on him? Why did you break his heart?" Through her sobs, she blurted out the raw, painful truth. "I was just horny. I wanted to have sex. That's it." 2 weeks later, when the judge asked if I wanted to reconcile, my answer was unwavering. "No, Your Honor." The marriage was dissolved. 3 years passed. I kept myself busy with work, rebuilding my life piece by piece. I dated occasionally, but nothing serious. The idea of trusting someone again felt impossible until my phone rang one evening. It was Dolores. "Martin, meet me at my house. We need to talk." When I arrived, a small boy ran toward me. "Who are you?" he asked, tilting his head curiously. I smiled, crouching to his level. "You see that woman there? I'm her son." "Oh," he said, "you are her son. Good to meet you." What followed was a conversation I could never have anticipated. Dolores looked at me steadily and said, "Listen, your ex-wife Kristen, she's dead." The words hit me strangely. Not with grief, but with shock. "What?" I asked quietly. "An alligator took her. Last week, in Florida," she said matter-of-factly. Then she said words that chilled my blood. "I killed her, fed her to a gator." My grip tightened around my glass as she continued. "She was in therapy, but later I found out that she had started poisoning Tim with lies against you. I didn't like it. I warned her. She didn't listen." "I couldn't stand by and watch," she said. "I called your mother, and we went for a trip to Florida. Only 3 of us returned." Before I could respond, my mother added, "Marshall Jones is dead. We needed to ensure that no one takes Tim away from us, so he had to go." I sat there, stunned by their confession. Then they revealed something else. They both had stage 4 blood cancer. "We won't live to see his 4th birthday," my mother said quietly. "Please, Martin, I know you are the best and only chance that child has in his life." I walked out without a word, but the next morning I found myself outside Dolores's house again. When Tim looked up at me, I crouched down and said, "You're my son now." He blinked, then nodded simply. "Okay." Life takes unexpected turns. A week later, the paperwork was finalized. Tim was officially my son. My mother arranged a date for me with a woman named Kelly, a former Marine who had lost her husband in Afghanistan. 6 months later, we married. My mother passed away 2 months after the wedding, and Dolores followed soon after. Kelly told me she was pregnant, and for the first time in years, life felt like it was moving in the right direction. One afternoon, sorting through my mother's things, I found a small diary. A picture slipped out, my mother and Dolores, standing side by side with serious expressions. The date on the back said 1999. The location, George Bush Center for Intelligence. I sat there, staring at the words, my heart pounding. Damn, my mom was in the CIA. Life is strange, isn't it? Sometimes the people we think we know best are hiding the most extraordinary secrets. Sometimes the deepest betrayals lead us to our greatest strengths. And sometimes, just when we think our story is over, we discover it's only beginning. If my story has touched you, please share your own journey in the comments below. No matter what betrayals you've faced, remember that healing is possible. Your heart can find its way back to trust, even when the path seems impossible. I'm living proof that after the darkest night, dawn always comes. Subscribe to hear more stories of heartbreak and healing. And remember, you are never alone in your pain or in your recovery. We're in this together, one heartbeat at a time.